Okay, you have started sharing your screen now. Relax, so well done. Oh.
Sorry, is the screen full?
Yes, it is, but you
Like
can just choose to do full share or something. No, let's just leave it this way, so it won't be interrupted again. But it's fine.
So we should leave it this way, right? It's okay like this, right? Everyone can say.
I can see it from my end. I hope every other person too can.
Okay. Ugochukwu, can you see? Pearl, can you see?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Banji is here. Can you see? Rafiet, can you see? This is Rilaso. Rilaso,
yes,
can you
see?
see? Okay, so everyone can see. Let's get started. Amazing. So that's fine. Now, I don't know. Oh God, sorry. What's this? Oh, I am getting some notification. I don't know. I don't know if anyone can hear me. So thank you so much, 33 product community. Yes, for having me, for putting this thing together for this particular learning section. I'm glad to be speaking on workplace sexual harassment. So it's an important topic I always like talking about. Workplace sexual harassment, prevention, and how to handle it. It's also an important conversation at this period, and I want to believe that we know the reason. It's always an interesting conversation. Some people like to shy away from it, but it's critical for us to have this conversation at this time and even all the time. I always start talking or when in speaking engagement with an intro about me. And so while at it, please feel free if we have any participant that is not part of the community, or just everyone should feel free to use the chat box to introduce themselves and tell us where they are connecting from. So, okay, the next slide. Yes, so about me, which is very interesting. My name is Precious Ajunwa. I currently reside in Nigeria, Lagos to be precise. I often get the question of like, are you from Ghana or you're not in Nigeria? And as a matter of fact, I am born and raised in Nigeria. I know why I know why people ask me that question. So I have tried to the best I can to adjust so that I don't get those kind of questions as often as possible. I'm a certified conflict resolution expert. So basically, what I do is that I help parties. I help parties in conflict handle their conflict constructively. And how I do that is by empowering the skills around soft skills, three soft skills: conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, and effective communication, which is very, very important for them to manage their conflict. Then also, I also like to talk about that. Oh, I started my career in the nonprofit space, and when I started my career in what's happening? Please, can we hear me? Oh my God.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh, I don't know. Seems like my screen stopped showing or something. Okay, sorry, relax to say we can hear me clearly. Okay. No, relax, so don't start, please. Can you still see my screen? It's making a turn here. I don't know. Hey. I can't see your screen. Okay. Let me try share the screen again. I don't know, seriously, this network. Okay, share. Please let me know if you can see the screen now.
Yes, I can. I can see your screen.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So yes, I was still introducing myself. So I started my career in the nonprofit space, where I designed several projects around the healthcare space, also education, peace building. I worked on United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 and 2550, which is women, peace and security, and youth peace and security, gender inequality issues, gender-based violence, which the topic about this course actually falls under. I love traveling, and at my leisure, I stalk Instagram and watch movies. So having a learning objective, so that's just about me. The next slide, which is our learning section, the objectives of our conversation today. I always believe that it's important to have a learning objective, which is very crucial. It helps us to tailor our discussion adequately, and at the end of the conversation, we have a clearer view of what workplace sexual harassment is all about, the components we identify using case study scenarios, best way to prevent it, and how to go about reporting and handling it. So yes, that's for that. In that case, so I would say, another thing I always love about starting a conversation is that I love talking about statistics, having a statistics about the topic of this course. And if we could take a look on the next slide, what does actually the statistics say about workplace sexual harassment, to understand why this conversation is crucial and why everyone should take it seriously. That's the reason why I always introduce statistics, so that we understand what is actually happening. So 1 in 2 women has suffered sexual harassment in the workplace in Africa. That is an African statistics, basically. 1 in 2. 1 in 2, just allow that to sink in. And also let me know that only 30% of these cases are reported. So if that is the case, only 30% of these cases are reported, you just do the mathematics around. Then another issue I want to highlight here, which is very, very important, is that when we talk about workplace sexual harassment and gender-based violence and the rest of that, we are not only referring to the female gender in court. We are talking about the male, we are talking about the female. So because male are also harassed. Among men, we have 1 in 5. 1 in 5 had experienced verbal sexual harassment, and about 10 had faced physical harassment. Yes, men experience harassment, and we need to also start talking about that aspect of harassment as often as we can, so that it doesn't look as if the men are also left alone out of this conversation. Yes, it's very obvious that workplace harassment is a serious problem, given the statistics, and complaints are rising every day. And you'll agree with me that the recent horrible bosses, the hashtag horrible bosses Twitter spaces that happened a couple of weeks back opened our eyes. Yes, deeper for those that know, and those that are not aware, it opened their eyes more on this particular conversation. Harassment takes many forms, like it takes several forms. It takes place face to face. It takes place through emails, through letter, through phone conversation, verbally, whatever the case may be. So now, what is actually workplace harassment? What is it? in quotes. What is workplace harassment? So workplace harassment is any behavior. The behavior can be an action, it can be put in writing, it can be whatever the case may be. So, but any behavior that makes someone feel intimidated or offended. So it's not necessarily going to be more like a physical violence, so to say, no. But any behavior that will make Precious, that will make Folashade feel, that will make Egochukwu intimidated or offended in the workplace. That is what workplace harassment is all about. According to the British law, it said that it's an unwanted conduct related to a relevant protected characteristics, which has the purpose or effect of violating an individual's dignity, in quote, or creating an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment for that particular individual. So that's what the definition is all about. So we would see that harassment takes place in every form. We've talked about that. So workplace harassment, it leads to a toxic and abusive workplace, because basically, like, you know, when anyone or when that action is invoked, whosoever that is targeted doesn't really feel comfortable. It makes the environment very toxic. It makes the both abuser become more like you are the guy, you are at the top or some sort of that. Many individuals are not sure what is considered harassment. This is one thing I have come to realize in that particular field, because a lot of people, when you tell them, sorry, you were harassing me, they feel that, no, sorry, what do you mean by that? Oh, I didn't touch your body, I didn't do whatever. But using a particular word or saying some certain things that someone doesn't feel comfortable is also an element of harassment. Hence, most cases go unnoticed or unreported because people don't really feel that is harassment. Let me take a look. I saw a chat notification. So let me see what is there. Oh, I can't see your screen. Yes, you can. This is some typing. Oh, okay. Can you see the screen now, please? I don't know whether this chat was said earlier on. I just noticed that there is a red icon, that the red chat was.
Yes, again.
Okay. So harassment is something that is actually unlawful. Another important thing I would like us to look at now is that I would love us to look at now is with regards to the types of harassment. But before we get to that, there is also some things I would like to lay more like the foundation. So workplace harassment, we've talked about it. We've talked about that. So workplace harassment, it occurs between both employee and employee, employer and employer. And the sole purpose, although people tend to say, oh, this is the sole purpose, but I remember there was a day I made an argument on a project that we are working on. That was a research for United Nations Nigeria, basically. And we're kind of trying to say, oh, the sole purpose of workplace harassment, the harasser rather is to make the victims feel unsafe and uncomfortable. And I was like, that is not in all cases, given my experience, and also not only my experience, other people's experience working in that particular field. While in some cases, they just feel like they want to catch crews, or I just want to catch crews without knowing the impact of the action. While in some cases, truthfully, the harasser doesn't know that, oh, this is a workplace harassment. The harasser doesn't know the impact it's having on the particular person, the target audience, basically. And that is that's also one thing we need to have at the back of our hand. Also, workplace harassment goes by various names. You can see some people referring to it as workplace bullying. Some people refer to it as mobbing. Some people refer to it as workplace aggression. So any no matter whatever it is being referred, but whatever behavior that is making someone not feel comfortable, it's a harassment. So it's very important to raise employees' awareness around them. around this particular issue, the need for discrimination to stop, because some people get harassed or be discriminated with regards to their sex, their gender, their sexual orientation, their color, the tribe, or whatever the case may be. So, but there is need for employers to really raise awareness on what actually constitutes workplace harassment. Now, I'd like us to have, I would like us to have a look, take a look at the different types of harassment that happen in workplaces. And that would actually help us to buttress the point to really understand this concept of workplace harassment and the different forms it actually takes place. So we would see that on the slide, what we see workplace, you see workplace harassment can take place in basically 5 major types, is what I've highlighted here. We have verbal harassment, we have psychological harassment, we have cyberbullying, we have sexual harassment, we have physical harassment. All these things I would explain bit by bit. I know that product is always huge when it comes to time. So I tried, though 1 hour is not enough to talk about this, but I have tried as much as possible to put in a lot of highlight a lot of things around this conversation so that we'll be able to come out stronger at the end of it, and also be able to get a clearer understanding about it. So in the case of verbal harassment, you see it consists of when the harasser engage in demeaning slurs, offensive gestures, and unwanted criticism. Basically, since this is more like a non-physical form of violence, you will see issues, or you see actions around like fat shaming, body shaming, or you say, oh, look at how fat you are, or look at how you are looking, or say someone is ugly, that kind of a thing. Shaming jokes, hurtful comments, and unwanted taunting, that often, challenging to recognize A from A. I don't know if that makes sense. So that is what verbal harassment, victims of verbal harassment, they often is something that is always ongoing. You say they feel that, oh, I'm not beating you. It's just, I'm just using my word. I'm just using my mouth to talk to you. I'm just using my mouth to make jokes around you. And that jokes is making me feel uncomfortable. That jokes is making me not feel safe. That is a harassment. Then in the case of psychological harassment, it is somewhat similar with that of the verbal harassment, but it's more covered, and it also consists of tactics like withholding information. You see victims who face such harassment are more likely to suffer from mental breakdowns. They're more likely to suffer from low self-esteem. They tend to undermine themselves because they feel that, oh, I can't really do it. They said I can't do it in my workplace. So psychological harassment, it includes issues around, I don't know how many of us have experienced when we work on a project and our boss or our superior or whoever that is leading that particular project will take credit without referencing us as someone who has actually worked on that. So that's also part of that. That's also part of psychological harassment. Then that of cyberbullying. I remember there was this case on Twitter when someone's colleague went to Twitter, got to Twitter and tweet something about what happened in the workplace indirectly, and that tweet was actually referring to her. So and that was a form of harassment. So digital harassment or cyberbullying, which is also called, is it's more like it's a new form of harassment that have come to actually happen, and people have come to realize as well. Then we have sexual harassment. This more like the bit. Sexual harassment actually, this is a heinous crime, and it's more common than you can think of. That's the truth. And it's any of the specific, not only to women alone. I said I have cases that is actually the men that are being harassed sexually, in quotes. So I remember I also talk about, like, I always like mention using data as much as often as I can, but this particular data more like tends to be the female. So according to I don't know whether we know Zip Recruiter survey, 40% of female respondents on one research they carried out said that 14% of male respondents have experienced sexual harassment in the workplace. So yes, I am always that kind of person. If I'm talking about this conversation, I like to highlight that of male so that we don't feel it doesn't look as if that gender group is being ignored in that area. So unwanted touching, sending obscene messages and videos, asking for sexual favors, comments, include using vulgar gestures are also few signs of sexual harassment, I must say. And most of the times, this incident, they go unnoticed and unreported. That is the truth. And because of this, most offenders, they often get away with this. Or someone will feel, oh, I want to protect my job, I need this money. And because of that, they'll just be swallowing a lot of sexual harassment in their experience in the workplace. Then that of physical harassment in the workplace, it has many degrees, basically. But majorly, improper touching of someone's clothes. You touching my clothes like without my approval, that's really wrong. You shouldn't do that. Or touching any guy's clothes, just hold you, dragging the guy's thigh or some sort of that. That's a harassment. So touching clothing, someone's skin, physical assault, threats, or damaging personal property. All these things are constituents of physical harassment, basically. Now, I would like us to take a look at what I see like crossing the lines at work. And why I highlighted this is because I always try as much as possible to give what did they call this? What did they call this? More like, okay, let's just give them evidence of doubt, so to say, oh, this person doesn't know this. Did someone say anything? Hello, did anyone say anything?
No, please go on. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Okay. So why I highlighted this, like I said, it's because a lot of people don't know when it seems like, oh, sorry, I didn't know this is harassment. So we see, and in our workplaces, like, you have different people, diverse group of people who you didn't grow up in the same place, or people who feel that, oh, this thing can fly, but this cannot fly. So more like diversity. You see diverse group of people in the workplaces. You see people with different religious belief system, basically, in the workplace. So sometimes, it now looks to say, oh, okay, because you've seen me so much, unfamiliarity can now become confusing for a lot of employees, and they now fail to understand what actually constitutes sexual harassment. So now that's the reason why I highlighted this aspect, so that it would also help us to drive home about this concept of workplace sexual harassment. Now, that of we'll see sharing of sexual inappropriate images or materials. While this is, I would say, is self-explanatory, it's also one of the major causes of sexual harassment. Sharing inappropriate images or videos, like pornography, can be seen as an active sign of sexual harassment. Anything that can be wrongly interpreted by your co-worker. So it's not only pornography, but anything that someone can actually interpret in another way, wrongly, might be wrongly or right as a sexual sign must be avoided at all costs. For example, an employee might have an intent to show their physical fitness to their co-worker by sending them an image of, okay, for instance, I want to refer to a guy who is building his muscles. And so more like, okay, this is where I started, this is where I am now. My macho, everything is showing up, I'm showing your best skin. Some other person who doesn't really feel, I shouldn't see a guy skin or so to say, that kind of a thing. It can pass like a sexual harassment in a workplace. Then also another way of crossing the line in the workplace is making inappropriate lyric gestures, basically. And this is especially relevant in the gestures that you see in any form of abusive nature, or casually with people with different cultures, different backgrounds, just like I've highlighted earlier on. You see someone, you don't know, you throw such gestures at people. Someone can say, okay, for instance, that of my case, let me mention, I had this colleague that always call me, my wife, that kind of a thing. And I try as much as possible to sorry, this gesture, I don't like it. I don't feel comfortable with this. Josh, I don't like it, don't choose it again. And when I first started, he felt like, this is like the third place I'm working. The day he knew that I was serious about this, that he was like, this is the third place I'm working. And I always have a favorite in any place I work that I always say, this is like my wife material or some sort of that. So it's more like, I said, sorry, it's inappropriate to me, I don't like it. And the day we had a conversation, that was the day I stormed out of his office and banged the door. Banged the door and walked out of his office. Was the day he now sent me a mail, said, can we have a conversation around this? And we sat down and had a conversation around it. I made him to understand what made me not to like that and why I do not want that. But after the conversation, he didn't continue in that regard. But I know after the conversation, he said something, wow, you really opened my eyes in this regard. And that was it. So another way people cross the line is making sexual comments about appearances, clothing, or body parts. Okay, you can't just see a lady and say, your boobs are getting bigger or some sort of that. That is a no. Some people, you say to them, they feel so good about it. Oh, really? They shake their butt, that kind of a thing. Yeah, some people you can fly with them, but you don't know who it flies for. You don't know, that you don't know. Maybe if your workplace have some policies with regards to that, and you just get in and you just start saying, you feel that you're very familiar with this person, and because of that you can tell her when your boobs is really, really out in this top you're wearing. That's really wrong. Then also some guys, you see some ladies will say, oh my god, like you're down, wow, like this trouser is really looking speck on you. That is really, even if the person is your paddy, that is really, really wrong. You've actually crossed the line in between that, so you need to be careful. Then another way, number 4, is making offensive comment about someone's gender. At the workplace, the only appropriate way to judge a person is by more like their work. No, so you must not make more like a sweeping judgment or offensive comment about a gender because someone especially with your co-worker. So because someone, this person did this, you now feel like, every woman is like that. That is actually wrong. Then repeatedly asking for sexual favors. This is actually a no-no. This is actually a no-no. And this is, I have known someone, someone this has actually made them lose their job, basically. Let me stop at that. Number 6 is making sexual offensive gestures, remark or facial expression. There have been a case. I actually read this particular one of this particular guy is always fond of. If you just see this girl, they're having this every Monday meeting, and just on the meeting table there, he wears glasses. And he would like he more like twist his mouth, lick his lips, so can lick his lips. This eye contact makes that girl uncomfortable. That's a no-no. Because of time, let's move today. That's the times at workplaces, and this is one way, the various ways people have crossed line that actually got them into trouble, so to say. So yes, so I would also now like us, the next thing in question is that I would like to have I inserted these case scenarios for us to also drive home this particular topic. So this is examples of workplace harassment. So scenario one is Peter works for a recruitment company. Peter works for a recruitment company, and his colleague John sits at a desk which is right behind him. As he walks into work every morning, Peter flicks John behind the ear as he walks past the case. As he walked past and say good morning, rather. This actually irritates John, who informed his supervisor about the behavior of his co-worker. Peter says these are just jokes and refuses to stop despite John's feeling extremely uncomfortable about the behavior and feels harassed by him. So this is one case scenario now. Okay, this is this. No, to start with, he might feel that, oh, this is a way of me playing around with my colleague John, and there is nothing in it. But there is something in it, because John doesn't feel comfortable. He's irritated by this particular gesture or by this particular behavior. Scenario two is April is a receptionist at a dentist's office. Pam, one of the assistant dentists, often asks April about the upcoming appointment. Every time she comes by, she will take April's hand and examine her nails closely while complimenting her on how well manicured they are. April has told Pam several times that she doesn't like having anyone touch her hands, but Pam continues to do so on every occasion. She informs her supervisor, who takes the matter seriously and gives Pam a warning that she must cease this kind of behavior. So now for Rick, now he feels that, okay, no, I'm just admiring your manicured, your well manicured hand. This is actually looking at, it's a compliment I'm giving. But who you're giving the compliment, have you assessed, or even if the person hasn't spoken out, how is this person accepting the compliment you were giving to him or her? Is the person actually taking the compliments well? Is the person actually taking it well? So that's the way, that's the angle where emotional intelligence comes in. Like, yes, observe. What is this person? Even if the person hasn't spoken out, the person hasn't talked, you should also use your own emotional intelligence to say, okay, this person is actually not talking about. You ask Skin holding my hand and saying whatever about how manicured my hand. If I'm interested in the conversation, oh, I would say, one, thank you. Oh, I got it done in this place, or this, that. I would say something about it basically. But without me saying anything, and I just stared at you, you should know there is something wrong. So this is another scenario. Another scenario I want us to look, and that is the second one. This is actually very, very important, and it's one of what they call Q verbal harassment, Q called harassment, basically. I'm going to talk more on that. So this scenario is like Sonia transferred to a new branch. This is more like focus more on the sexual harassment aspect. Sonia transferred to a new branch of a well-known bank. The IT assistant helps her to get set up her computer and puts her hands on her legs as he does so. Although this makes her feel ill at ease, she assumes this is just a friendly gesture. However, every time she asks the IT assistant for some help, he inadvertently touches a part of her body, whether it be putting his hand on her shoulder, touching her hand, or going as far as brushing her breast. Because of this behavior, Sonia no longer asks the IT assistant for any help whatsoever, as she knows that she will have to bear some form of physical contact. The IT assistant behavior is a clear form of sexual harassment, which creates a quid pro quo situation where Sonia has to endure her co-workers' physical contact because she just needs help. The next one is Jerry and June works in the same company. June cannot stop looking at Jerry. all day as she really fancies him, and everyone can clearly see it in the office. Every time Jerry gets up to go to the coffee room, June gets up and follow him so that they can be alone together. So she can quiz him about his personal life, and try as much as possible to more like have a conversation to make a plan with him. So Jerry is not interested in June's advances, and the situation becomes unbearable for him as he feels June is invading his workplace. Here, it's a clear example that June is the harasser, while the example shows that the sexual harassment is not limited to women. So how do we prevent this? All these things we have been talking about, how do we actually prevent workplace harassment? And one of the ways we need to do that is by, putting policies in place. It's very, very important for us to put policies in place in our workplaces. And if I'm talking about policies, I'm not just talking about someone just writing a policy and without anyone knowing about the policy, because that's actually what happens in a lot of workplaces in Nigeria. You need to establish a clear-cut zero tolerance, anti-harassment policy, and make sure that every team member who is working in that organization is aware of this. When you get new team members, how do you onboard them? Do you make these policies available to them for them to know that this is not what happens in this case? For in the case of Josh, my former colleague, yeah, it has happened, like where he's coming from, he goes away with that, but in where he met me, he doesn't actually goes away with that. And when I explained to him, I told him that we have policies, and the policies is really, really effective in this place, because it's a non-profit organization where we address gender-based violence. We help women who experience sexual violence in their homes, intimate partner violence, and the rest of that, to handle such cases. So we can't be doing that, and inside there we're not fighting that. We don't put things in place. So one way to prevent it is that we need to establish a clear-cut zero tolerance anti-harassment policy in place, and make sure that everyone is aware that this is it, and this is a no-go zone in this place. Another way we need to prevent this is by getting a tailored training, having a tailored training in our workplaces, ensuring that our team members, like everyone that work in that place, I'm not talking about only everyone that work in this place, I'm talking about everybody, whether it's the employer or whether it's even the employers. Yes, employers rather. I'm sorry. So the employers as well should be aware. They should be part of this training. So having a training, instituting training and awareness program for your employees, an employer, I need to add employer, sorry, in this slide, yeah. So they need to be aware, they need to be trained, they need to understand what constitutes workplace harassment, what it is all about, and the rest of that. Also, there is need for to create, more like a specialized training for the managers and supervisors. Why is this important? When it happens, so let's say for instance there is a harassment in the sales team, we don't just go leave from the sales team, or because you just from the sales team you just run straight to the HR. Yeah, but at least is that the first thing is that you need to have a conversation with your harasser for the person to understand that, come on, what you are doing is not going down well with me, and you know that this thing is in place in this, that. So there is need for you to have that. Then if that is not working, that is now when you go to your supervisor, to your manager. So that's the reason why it's important to create a specialized training for your managers and supervisors. Then also another way is to build a culture where harassment is unlikely to take place. So if we have a culture, a workplace culture where this is a no, like if everyone is coming, no Tom, Dick, and Harry, it might be like more like a culture. Your culture is that every third Thursday of the month, you are highlighting news around sexual harassment or workplace harassment and what it has cost some companies to circulate it to every team member or some sort of that. It could be a culture of, okay, every particular day of the month, a particular team member is going to talk an aspect, a crucial conversation. So where workplace harassment is one of the conversations they talk about. So build that particular culture in your workplace. You need to ensure that everyone understands the process of reporting a complaint. Yes. So that still boils down to the first one, which I talked about, establishing a clear-cut zero tolerance anti-harassment policy. So not just having a policy. Now, the policy, what are the steps? Do you have a system in place? This system that you've put in place, what is the reporting format? How effective is this reporting format? How does it go? What does it channel? Who was the first thing? What's the second thing? What's the third thing? All those things. So having a process in place, a reporting process in place where everyone understands, where everyone knows that this is the way, and not that when a complaint is made, how effective is the feedback? What is the feedback mechanism? What is the time frame? All these things are what needs to be put in place. Now, another important thing I want us to look at is that, okay, how can I report a workplace harassment, basically? And this is actually very, very, very important, because a lot of people don't know how to go about reporting workplace harassment. Now, the reporting actually stems from the reporting mechanism needs to start with what is the position of the company. What does the company has in place? What has the company put in place, basically, for you to report that, basically? So what has your company put in place? If there is zero, nothing, there is no if there is a system in place, I want to believe the first thing is that everyone has been made to understand that in 33 product innovation management, we do not tolerate, we tolerate zero tolerance to workplace harassment. And if everyone is aware of this, so when it happens, the first thing I have to do is that I have to talk to who is harassing me, for the person to really understand that, okay, this is actually an issue for me. It's an issue for me because I don't feel comfortable. I feel intimidated anytime, excuse me, anytime you do this. So because of that, so when I have had this conversation with this person and the person is not doing anything, or the person still continued that is now when I have to go to my supervisor to make a report about it. So this is in a place where I want to feel that everyone is everyone is aware of this particular conversation. And from your supervisor or from your manager or your team lead, whatever the case may be, if the thing still continues, that is now when you have to jump to go to your HR. Okay, HR, this has happened. This is what I have done, step one. And it is still, if it's a harassment for a harassment for an individual, it's always good for someone to take notes. Always good for you to have, okay, on this particular day, at this time, I have this conversation, because it actually helps you to be articulated. And by the time someone sees, someone will say, oh, this person actually knows what they are doing, because have a timestamp everything on whatever they are reporting. So that's where you now go to HR and say, hey, child, please. I'm getting some feedback. I don't know. So that's when you go to HR and say, this HR, I have done this. So what is this is what I still get, what I still get. And at that particular time, then the HR need to wear their cap and do what they are meant to do. So in that case, we'll still come back to that, because how you can report workplace harassment, it's also how to handle it. It's also there's a connection to that. So because of time, let me make a jump out of that, and I will come to that. Now, how to handle workplace harassment. This is actually very, very important. A lot of time, employers tend to not give an audience to the victims in question. They tend to sweep it under the carpet. They tend to say, no, this is it's nothing. They tend to ignore it. But I want to categorically say that what it was 2 years ago, what it was 5 years ago is not the case, because people are actually cashing out from this particular thing. And as a matter of fact, in some places, if your employer has not put things in place and they have not made the necessary they've not put the necessary framework, system, policies, and take actions as the way it should take, they're actually meant to be the one to pay you. But if they've done that and the harasser still do it, yes, the harasser needs to be. So some people actually have, so how to handle it is that there is need for us to listen to victims, give the audience to them, hear what they have to say. How did it happen? Ask a lot of questions you need to ask in order to get your fact very, very right. And you don't just stop at listening to the victim. There is need for you to listen to the perpetrator, the person that the harasser himself or herself. What happened? Why are you doing this? How did you understand this? So there is need for you to also listen to that. Like I said, I think I've highlighted it. I've said that, I've mentioned that there is need not to sweep it under the carpet. That is not the best way to handle workplace harassment. You don't just say, oh, because this person is there. You don't know who the person is. You don't know the command the person is. The person might just be, oh, this person is an ordinary person, but you don't know the power, the command the person actually have. So, and how far that particular incident, if you don't do anything and the person goes as far as getting a lawyer with regards to that, you as a company, your company, your business is in problem. So that's the reason why you don't have to sweep it under the carpet. So there is also need to take strict action. So even if it is the Oga Pata Pata that did the thing, or the Madam Pata Pata that did the thing, don't just say because, oh, this is the founder and you don't do anything about that, or oh, this is the he is the engine behind the sales. You are actually bringing down your brand as a company in court. Another way to handle it is also train. Training is very, very important. I can never overemphasize the importance of training on this particular subject matter. As a matter of fact, some companies, what they do is that when they have, they are in retainership with a lot of training and development, tech mod like platform where, or they have to, any new person that gets on board to tell you how serious they take this particular topic, they send the person on this particular training. While they're doing this, they want to do this so that it doesn't look like you do not know, you're not aware about this. You already know that this is a no zero if space that takes no zero that conducts no zero tolerance approach. And in that regard, when something happens, you have to bear the brunt by yourself. Now, another thing I would like us to do is that what should employees should do when they are harassed, and that still boils down to that question I asked, that is, how can I report a workplace harassment? Now, I tried as much as possible to capture this using visuals because this is actually I more like, would I say more like more storytelling? Okay, let me not go there. So the first thing you have to do, you can see the middle where my guy, sorry, please. At the center we can see a gentleman. A gentleman, I'm used to calling gentleman, but if you're harassing someone, you're no longer a gentleman. So I can see the guy and the woman at the middle. Why I put this is that if you are the one being harassed, you are the one at the center. You are the one to drive it. You are the one to take action. You are the one to take action. You're the one to speak out, because speaking out is actually very important. One is that you are saving a lot of other people from not experiencing that, because if you let it go, okay, the person will still go ahead. He or she will still continue doing what they have always been doing. So you are the driver. So being as the driver, there is need for you to have a clear-cut conversation with your harasser. Hey, harasser, come, I need to talk to you. And talking to him, talking to the person, yes, I understand. I think it's more like me having a conflict resolution skill. I will not talk to you when I am triggered, when I know that my conversation with you are not coherent. No, I need to talk to you when I know that I have calmed down, I'm okay, I've articulated my thought. So I need you, that is my harasser. I would identify what you have done, how you have done it in time past, or whatever the case may be. And all I would, as I'm talking about it, I'm also mentioning, I'm giving you, this person was here this day, AZYZ was here when you actually did this. That is how I go about it. So for you to know that, oh, this girl is actually serious about this conversation, and this girl has actually taken note of everything. So having identified that, I will now tell you the impact of what you are doing first on me, on my mental health, or whatever the case, or even if it's not affecting my mental health, but I don't just like it. I don't just like you calling me fine girl, or whatever the case may be, or I don't just like it, you like me passing you, spanking my butt, like for what? In what case? You shouldn't. I don't like it, you calling me, drawing my ear, say, hey, good morning, and draw my ear. No, I don't like it, me having a conversation with you and you lean a bit forward on me and put your hand on my shoulder. It's a no, sorry, that's not it. So I need to tell you, okay, identify this and say, this is actually the impact on me. I don't like it at all. And I would like you to put a stop to it. And it's not like a threat that I am making to you. It's not a threat. I just want us to have a conversation, and I just want it to let go. I want to believe that you are not aware of the impact or whatever you're doing. I would also make you to realize that this is a harassment. This is workplace harassment. This is what the law says against about it. And if it continues, I would not take it lightly. I would go ahead and do this and do that. Don't take it as a threat, and that's just it. So from the conversation I will have with the person, will determine, oh, does this person look like someone who is not aware that this is a harassment? Yes. Oh, the person would definitely say, oh, I didn't know that this is what it is, and okay. And if the person feels that, oh, come on, like this, that, or put whatever, or the person doesn't know it's a harassment and still is not remorse about it, and is not ready to make it stop, then that will now lead me to go to the human resource department to have a conversation with them. The human resource department, I need to explain this, whatever has happened, and give them details. I'll also make them to understand that I have had this conversation with this person, but this is the impact, this is where the conversation gets to, and that's the reason why I am coming to you to look into this. And if the human resource department, the team, because I want to believe there is a team that's specifically responsible for complaints and the rest of that. If they're unable to say anything, I need to go to the HR manager. At this point is when I'll get to the HR manager. Okay, HR manager, this is what has happened, and this is the action I have, this is what I have done about it, and this is it. So the HR manager still, if nothing is happening or whatever the case may be, then there is need for me to now make a formal complaint. You know, all this while I've been talking about it and doing this. I'm also documenting all these things. Then I have to make a formal complaint, because I want to believe that any workplace that have a human resource department, have a structure, have a complaint box, or whatever the case may be. It might be more like a form I need to fill. So I need to make a formal complaint. Yes, going through the employer grievance policy and procedure rather, which is under employment grievance policy, yeah, basically. So I need to make a formal complaint about that. And if they are still not doing anything about it and this thing is still going on, then I can now go ahead and get my lawyer to write them. And that is basically the best way. But before you go around all this, that, any workplace environment now, I think I want to believe that their eyes are off now, that they are really taking this conversation seriously after the outbreak of the horrible bus incident that actually happened. So they wouldn't want to go far as you getting an attorney, writing taking a legal action against them, because they know that you doing that, one is that their brand is at stake. More people are getting to know about what has happened, and yeah, So I want to believe that it won't really get to that point. But even in a case that it goes to that point, it is what it is. Now, there is also why I want us to talk about that. This is that because it's very, very important. There are laws, there are governing laws that actually that govern every situation. Then that's the reason why it's very, very important to look at what does the law actually say about sexual harassment, because it's now an important conversation. Because there is an important conversation, there is need for us to understand what the governing laws around it are actually saying. Now, so what does the law say about workplace harassment, basically, and sexual harassment? So Nigeria has several laws, and sexual harassment, workplace harassment is not without a legal framework, I would say. Even if there are several, agitation for a more robust legal framework, I know CSOs have been doing, and I was part of that before I transitioned to tech, pushing for a framework on sexual harassment. I know that it's something that is coming to realization, while at the same time we have a law, and what does the law say? So the greatest of all laws in Nigeria is the Constitution of Nigeria. I would not really talk much about it. It's more like a highlight I'm trying to make, because I don't have any legal background. I didn't study law in this case. So after the Constitution, we have other federal laws, and then we have laws made by the state legislature. So issues of workplace harassment, sexual violence are not within the exclusive persevere of the federal government. Rather, state government make several state laws on the issue. There are also several international instruments that that can be made use of on the issue, on this particular issue. And Nigeria, has ratified some of them. And also, Nigeria being a body of United Nations, and most of all these laws, United Nations Resolution Council has been passed around this, and Nigeria has actually adopted that. So then, in some cases, it's just remained for it to be domesticated in Nigeria. So the court in Nigeria are, I would say, yeah, they're trying their best, working tirelessly to reduce the surge in workplace harassment, sexual offenses, and the National Industrial Court has also are also doing their best with regards to that, though. All this actually make up, the legal framework of workplace sexual harassment. But in terms of what does the Constitution say, I know the section 34 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria says every individual is entitled to respect for the dignity of his person, or his when they use this, he's like, oh, both her is also in that. And accordingly, no person shall be subject to torture or inhuman or degrading treatment. Remember, workplace harassment, anything that makes someone feel less of him or her, anything that makes someone not feel comfortable. So another thing is that no person shall be held in slavery or servitude. For instance, in a case of, I do not want to work with this company again, and I tender my resignation, and someone is telling me otherwise, no, that is a harassment on itself, and there is a law to back to that. And also another thing is that no person shall be required to perform forced or compulsory labor. I would say, the Constitution of Nigeria basically contains the fundamental human rights of all persons in Nigeria. And with regards to that, that actually gives backing with regards to workplace sexual harassment. So because if my human rights, if my human right is being trampled on, if I don't feel, I feel that, I am feel less of myself, my right to a person and is being affected. No, that is actually a no. Another thing is, another law that can also be relied upon with regards to this is the criminal code and the section 351. Maybe I think this is something we can also read more on our own. The section 351 that says any person who unlawfully assaults another is guilty of a misdemeanor and liable if no greater punishment is provided to imprisonment for 1 year. The section 352 also says any person who assaults another with the intent to have carnal knowledge of him or her against the order of nature is guilty of a felony and is liable to imprisonment to 14 years. And also section 360, any person who is unlawfully and indecently assaulted a woman or a girl is guilty of misdemeanor and liable to imprisonment for 2 years. That's the case of rape. Another thing is also, another law is the penal code also. It also has a backing around that. I don't really have much data, much thing to say around that, but that is actually that's actually what it actually says. Then also another thing is we need to look at do employers have a legal responsibility to prevent harassment in the workplace? That is a capital yes. That is a capital yes. Every employer is their responsibility. I am coming to your place. You need to make your house conducive for me. I am working in your office. So every place needs to be conducive for me. So it's the responsibility. They have the responsibility to protect every employer from workplace sexual harassment or any type of harassment, basically. So, and that is the reason why, because of this, if I am able, if you did not make that conducive and it was more than what it is, you can be sued. And when you are sued, your company is sued with regards to that. And the harasser itself, you guys need to pay who you have harassed. So it's your responsibility, basically. And that is the reason why it's very, very important for companies to actually put structures in place and make sure that this conversation is really known by everyone. And there are things we need to put structures in place to say that, oh, when it actually happens, in case of it happens, okay, we have put measure processes in place for us to actually handle that. Having said that, yes, I have come to the end. I would say I know that this community is filled up with brilliant people,